feeling, a great feeling from Jimmy Lakey. Jimmy Lakey in the morning makes me feel alive. Woke me up this morning, now I'm up and on my way. Oh, 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 yeah, what a great way to start your day, the Lakey way.
Well, it's Holy Friday is what they call it, right? Good Friday in America, and it is a very good Friday for me, not just because we celebrate the holiest weekend of them all, to celebrate the death, the burial, the resurrection of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, but I got a Whataburger. And early this morning, got some Whataburger coffee, and here I am, live from a hotel room, smack dab in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Back again. Hey, welcome to the program, everybody. I know a lot of folks take the day off and you try to tune out of news on a day that we probably should be thinking about more important things than just local news. But hey, take time today, celebrate Good Friday. Thank God for the sacrifice of his son, John 3:16. Don't forget that. For God so loved the world that he gave his only son, that whoever believes in him would not perish but have eternal life. So thank God for that work of transformation and forgiveness and grace. It all began on this day, thousands of years ago, on the crucifixion, the death, burial, the resurrection. We celebrated Easter Sunday. So, yes, there are more serious things to talk about, of more eternal I guess ramifications, but hey, let's do some daily updates anyway and have a little fun while we do it. Again, Jimmy Lakey broadcasting from a hotel room. Normally I'm in the Lakey Entertainment Towers. I have a couple of studios there. One is for the Critical Mission podcast, full of purpose and inspiration, and then the other is the newsroom for the Lakey Unleashed Daily Streamcast. So anyway, here we are. Glad to have you here. If you're just listening to the audio portion on the podcast platform, you have no clue what I'm talking about, but those are glorious lighting fixtures from a wonderful hotel. Nice sitting area behind me. You can see living in the lap of luxury we are here, but here, and I'm advertising properly for Rivers Promise, our charity, where we could use some donations from you today. Indeed, we could. All right, let's dive into a couple of stories. We're going to talk about a couple of bigger topics this morning. I have some small stories I want to blend in here with you. But one of the bigger topics is this move across America that kind of gets lost, and it's happening right here, the state that I live in, Colorado. It's House Bill 1312 that we briefly talked about, but other states have had these, and there's story after story of dads and parents losing custody of their children because they refuse to go along with perhaps their partner or the school district who wants the child to be reassigned a gender. And they start saying, no, that's a boy, and he's going to remain a boy. And suddenly social services getting involved, and there's more and more stories of custody cases being lost. Now, we're going to talk to Edward Bartlett about this here in about 10 minutes from right now. You don't want to miss that conversation. Also, coming up at the bottom of the hour, especially those of you in Colorado, the governor's race, we talk about it. Any of you who listen across America know that we talk about our governor in the state of Colorado. His name is Jared Polis, and he's a real loser of a governor. He's done more to destroy the state of Colorado and cause it to go down the keister than anybody that I've known that has ruled the state, reigned in the state in the 20-something years that I've been around. So he's a disgusting governor, and he's a fake, he's a fraud, he's a charlatan. He's a guy that will tell you he's a libertarian, but he's as bat crap crazy as Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. He's an absolute nut job of a tyrant, and he proved that in his hypocrisy of keeping the pot shops and the dope shops and the stripper clubs open, but he forced churches to stay closed during COVID because of his the darkness stain in his soul, if you will. I don't know what it is, but he's not a great guy. Well, he's term limited, and he's now going to try to screw up America the way he screwed up Colorado, and hopefully that will never happen. I don't believe it ever will. But he's also leaving a vacancy, and the Democrats have now announced our marble-mouthed Senator Michael Bennet has announced he's running for that seat. Our Attorney General has announced he's running for that seat. But what about the Republicans? And so coming up, we're going to do a first in a series of interviews with Republicans who are going to be running for governor, have declared or are declaring. And today, up at about 8:30 Mountain Time, 9:30 Central Time, 10:30 Eastern Time, you get the idea. About 30 minutes into the program, Mark Baisley, who has served in the state legislature for many years, been a leader in the Republican Party in the southern parts of Colorado. Linda says he's a loser. He's a loser as a decent human being. Yes, he's not a decent human being. Just look at the way he rules, the way he reigns, and the way he is just duplicitous in all of his ways. Talking about Jared Polis. Thank you. Again, if you're listening to the Screamcat podcast and you hear me read something randomly, it's because on the live show, people can pop up comments on the screen live into the program, and I sometimes refer to those. Anyway, Mark Baisley going to be on the program. If you're just starting about 30 minutes into this show, you'll hear Mark Baisley. He is a candidate for governor, and those of you that are Republicans that are going to be voting next year in the primary, you'll want to start knowing who your people are and who your candidates shall be. My buddy Greg Lopez has also jumped in that race. Greg's going to be with us next week, and as people jump into that race, I want to make sure you are informed as to who they are in the state of Colorado. And those of you out of state, listening on the podcast version or listening on other platforms out there, if there's a statewide candidate in your race, we normally on this program not going to get down as ancillary or microscopic as a dog catcher race. But if there's a statewide or a larger race, we're happy to have those people on, and they can always reach us at info@jimmylakey.com, info@jimmylakey.com, info@jimmylakey.com. I saw a meme the other day. It was all poll, and it's not my question today. We may come back and do this next week. Would you ever actually go to space? And there's a poll out there that says most people in America watch these rich broads that went up into space last week with Jeff Bezos, said, even if I had the money, that's not something I want to do. And then I saw this funny meme. It was the two astronauts. Remember those two astronauts that Elon Musk had to go rescue? And they got stuck up there for almost 8-9 months, a year. They got stuck up there forever. And they're watching people like idiotic Katy Perry and Oprah's girlfriend come down and kiss the ground. They had been gone for 10 minutes, and how glorious it was. They're looking with a scoff on their face. So, yeah, we'll do that question of the day. But there is a question of the day on this Easter weekend, and that is a question of fun. Then we're going to get into some news, and we're going to talk about transgender children. That's coming up. So let's get it all on the table: the good, the bad, the ugly, and the friendly, and the insane. One of the things that I would like to ask you is, what is your favorite Easter candy? A lot of parents will go all out this weekend building Easter baskets for your kids. Even last year, I traveled to see my son on Easter weekend at college, and I didn't put it in the basket, but I did take him a sack of goodies and called it his Easter basket, because I think he might have disowned me as a father had I walked into the football hallway where all the football players stay with an Easter basket with marshmallow bunnies. But I did take him some beef jerky and things like that. I called it an Easter basket, but it wasn't just a grocery basket, so that was okay. But here's a question for you. What are the most popular or the favorite Easter candies that you have? Google has looked at the top Easter candies that we're sending and searching for leading up to Easter Sunday. And in most states, it's Peeps still. Peeps, if you don't know the name. Peeps, that's still, that doesn't mean that's their favorite. 35 states have Googled Peeps more than any other Easter candy this month. Gummy candies are next in 5 states. Now, be careful. In Colorado, if you're Googling gummy Easter candies, that may not be a way to celebrate the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. That just may be a way to kind of check out a little bit the gummies. I don't know what they're looking for. No other type of candy got more than 2. According to a survey also this week, it found that Peeps aren't necessarily our favorite. It's what people look for. But 26% of the vote said the number one, and it's also Instacart's most purchased gift list as far as Easter candy, is the Reese's Peanut Butter Eggs. Reese's Peanut Butter Cup Eggs. Anybody like those? Isn't it amazing? Reese's has figured out how that peanut butter cup, where your chocolate got dipped in my peanut butter, your peanut butter got dipped in my chocolate, those old-fashioned commercials back from the 70s, they have now figured out how to parlay that peanut butter chocolate mix into a Christmas candy, and now it's top of the Easter candy list. And they also have the Halloween candy as well. So anyway, congratulations to Reese's. The second one are the chocolate Easter bunnies. I like the chocolate Easter bunnies, especially the ones that are hollow, because I'm not a big sweet guy, but the hollow ones are actually really good because it's just a small bit of chocolate. If you get the big ones, you've got a lot of chocolate, and it's bad. Chocolate Easter bunnies are 13% of the favorite, so it's by far Reese's Peanut Butter Eggs. Cadbury Cream Eggs, jelly beans, and then what they call robin eggs. You say, what are robin eggs? They're just Easter-themed Whoppers. The malted milk balls is what they are. The Whoppers, they're called robin eggs. And Peeps are ranked 6th among the favorite candy. 1 in 14 still people will just absolutely love the Peeps. I'm not a big fan of the texture of the Peeps, but there's your Easter candy list as we go into the Good Friday day. And some people taking the day off. Some of you will be listening to this program later because you're not paying attention on Good Friday. I don't blame you. But the top candy, if you want to sound off in any of the chat room platforms, feel free to do so. All across all of our forums, feel free to do so. Love to hear what your favorite candy is for Easter. Jim says Jelly Belly jelly beans. Arloa says, she felt a bit of shift in the atmosphere and realized she better get herself on here. Oh, those robin eggs, malted milk balls, are basically her favorite. Anybody remember you used to go to Sears? I remember going to Sears as a kid, and they had a candy store, a candy kiosk thing, like a big counter. You worked the candy counter, and if I was a really good boy, I could talk my mom into buying me some malted milk balls. Like, give me an eighth of a pound, a quarter. I remember the candy. Does any store still have the candy counter like that? That all sorts of variety of candy. I remember it was Sears. It seems like that's where we went to Sears, and I wouldn't get a lot, but I could get malted milk balls here. But I like the robin eggs. I'm with Arloa. All right, nice to have you here. Let's get some other stories on here that we want to get out there. The El Salvadorian prison gangbanger. That's been an interesting story. This Senator Van Hollen has to be somewhere. You wonder if these people have any decency, and it's just kind of amazing. He's out there. I'm going to make sure this guy's rescued. I'm going to bring him home, save him from the death camps. And so he spends a day down there being disrespected by the El Salvadorian government and saying, "You can't get in. I'm sorry, we're no visitors allowed." And I guess Van Hollen had to call Vice President J.D. Vance and say, "Hey, man." Excuse me, I have no cough button in my hotel room. Could you possibly set up a visit? And J.D. Vance somehow got the guy a visit. And so they brought this Garcia, 29-year-old illegal immigrant living in Maryland, was deported in the El Salvadorian terrorism camp. And last month, officials said that it was bad and he was not supposed to be there. But both federal and district court and the U.S. Supreme Court have ordered Trump's administration that if they want to facilitate his return, they can't force El Salvador to do anything. So Van Hollen finally, on his second day down there, tries to go visit him. And so they dress the guy up in a plaid shirt, and they serve some margaritas, and the guy goes out and visits Van Hollen. And I wonder if this backfires because Van Hollen was really thinking he was going to walk into the depths of prison, and maybe with the prison shower scene unfolding behind him, he was going to hug the gangbanger and say, "Come home to daddy," or whatever he thought was going to happen. But he finally got to see the gangbanger, Mr. Abrego Garcia, and he got to see him, and they sat there and they had a beverage together, and that was it. I just find that to be quite interesting. Senator Van Hollen was tweeting this out yesterday. "We were just denied entrance into the prison, the notorious prison in El Salvador. Mr. Abrego is being illegally held. We were there." How is he being illegally held when he's an El Salvadorian citizen? Again, does Mr. Van Hollen have a brain? Does anybody that ever voted for Christopher Van Hollen have a brain, a cell that rubs together? He's an El Salvadorian citizen, born and raised, was in our country illegally. How is he being illegally held in the country of his birth? Because that's his country. And by the way, he's, by two different judges, been alleged to be a part of a terrorist gang that Donald Trump has ruled as terrorism. So all these other things, you get safety here. No, you get no safety when you're part of terrorism. Senator Van Hollen says, "We were there for one simple reason, to check on his well-being, which his family and lawyers have not been allowed to do. We won't stop fighting." Now, anybody in Mr. Van Hollen's state where he represents, the Maryland senator, somebody should ask Mr. Van Hollen if he has ever gone over to sit down and try to find all of the American citizens, actual born American citizens, that have been holed up in hellholes and maybe dead, killed by Hamas. Mr. Van Hollen, you anti-Semitic fool, I guess you didn't care about the Jews? You didn't care about the people holed up in prisons with Hamas? You didn't go beg to check on their well-being, their family, their lawyers have not been allowed to access them. So, Mr. Van Hollen, why have you not been so obsessed with actual American citizens? What is your obsession, Mr. Van Hollen, for saying you won't stop fighting for an illegal alien who's accused of domestic violence in this country who was ordered to be deported. El Salvador wanted their criminal back. And what is your purpose for wanting to not stop fighting for him when actually you probably should be fighting for actually American citizens? And if you want to do that, head over to the Gaza Strip and see if you can work on checking on the well-being of some actual American citizens. So anyway, he gets to meet with this guy, and it's one of the who was it? I think the vice president of or is the president of El Salvador tweeted out after they let him meet Abrego Garcia and said, Kilmar Abrego Garcia miraculously has risen from death camps and torture. He's now sipping margaritas with Senator Van Hollen in the tropical paradise of El Salvador. And then they also wrote, taunting the foolish, idiotic, dumb-ass senator from Maryland, said, now that he's been confirmed healthy, he gets the honor of staying in El Salvador's custody. And Mr. Van Hollen has to go home after squawking about death camps and torture chambers. He gets to almost sip margaritas with a guy in a tropical paradise. And then they said, now, Mr. Van Hollen, run along and maybe you can go care for and try to care about some actual American citizens. And again, all these people squawking about this illegal alien that has been deported out of our country, these same people have not squawked once for almost over 2 years about actual American citizens that are being held by Hamas in the Gaza Strip. Their lawyers haven't been allowed access. Their family has no idea of their well-being. They're not sure if they're dead, alive, been raped, murdered. We don't know anything about them. And yet the modern-day Democrat Party does not give a rat's ass about it. Why? Is it because they're Jewish? Mr. Van Hollen, you have to answer that question. Why don't you care about actual American citizens being held against their will somewhere in a country that they weren't born in and aren't citizens with? Mr. Van Hollen, why your passion for this illegal, this gang-banging illegal? Why your passion there, and yet why your silence and your complicitness with the anti-Semitism that's happened in Gaza and with Hamas and with the Jewish American citizens that are still there? Mr. Van Hollen, you are a disgusting individual. And I believe you got a dark spot on your soul just because you can't seem to focus on what really would matter. And again, all lives matter, if you will. But if you're going to really put on some shenanigans and become the drama queen that you seem to want to be, it seems as if you would want to take care of the American citizens that are actually holed up in prison for over 2 years, and they're actually American citizens, and they weren't arrested for gangbanging, that they're just people that are attending a concert. So Mr. Van Hollen and all of you Democrats, James Carville, all of you people, one day you'll stand before the Almighty and just have to answer as to why you act as if human life matters to you. But from the abortion clinic to Gaza, it doesn't seem to matter to you. And instead, you go on these drama queen rants about fighting for an illegal alien who's accused of domestic violence and wanted by his home country. All right, that's too serious of a topic for Good Friday. Happy Holy Friday, everybody. Nice to have you here. Jimmy is my name. If you wonder why the beautiful hotel scene is behind me, I am once again traveling on the weekend, handling some matters at hand, some family matters, and dealing with all sorts of good stuff we all get to deal with in life. Last week, I was watching my son's college football game in the springtime in Missouri, back in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Wherever you're watching, I'm glad to have you here. Don't forget, just a bit, we'll kick off our first in a series of introducing you to gubernatorial candidates for the state of Colorado. Ray writes a message here. Jimmy, it's simple. Van Hollen is trying to get the Latin vote for the midterm elections. This is not the way to get it. If you look at the poll numbers, one of the reasons that Donald Trump did so well among Latin or Hispanic votes, if you will, is because he believed in a strong border. Those who are legally able to vote in this country don't like this type of dumbassery by dumbass people like Van Hollen. They don't like it. It's not their cup of tea. This is why even in the state of Colorado, when I was running the media for Tom Tancredo, when he was running for governor of the state of Colorado, we saw the polling data that even among the Hispanic community in heavily Hispanic places like Pueblo County in Pueblo, Colorado, Tom Tancredo was actually up in the polling because traditional families that have come here legally don't like this type of placating and idiocy by Van Hollen. Van Hollen is an idiot. I mean, you watch this thing, the guy is just, he is a bucket full of dumbassery is all he is. I mean, it is spewing from every pore of his body to go down there and grandstand and pretend that he's just waiting in wait to go check on Mr. Van Hollen. And then they put him in a restaurant and say, You guys have a margarita together. It'll be good. Now, Mr. Van Hollen, you run along, and maybe you can go help the people of Maryland. All right, let me bring in change gears here. But again, too serious of a topic on Good Friday. But there's another serious topic that's out there that's happening all across America. And again, welcome to my hotel room in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I'll be here a couple of shows, and then I'll be back at the studios in Colorado in a couple of days, so next week. But there's a bill that has just made it through the Colorado legislature, and it's I think House Bill 13. And these types of bills are going on all across of America. And they are bills that basically are hell-bent on promoting an agenda of transgenderism. And if you lose your right as a parent, it doesn't really matter. They don't care. It's just a matter of whether or not you will allow your child to be gendered any way someone else or your child wants to be gendered. It's transgender ideology is now being used to take away custody of children, especially from their fathers. And Edward Bartlett is my guest. He's the founder of SAVE, S-A-V-E, an organization focused on fairness due process on the college campus. But I bring him into the program. Edward Bartlett, welcome back in, sir.
Hello, Jimmy. I'm glad you're in Texas and not in Maryland right now.
Oh, Van Hollen. Is that where you're at? Is Van Hollen your senator?
I will have to admit that fact. Yes, he is one of my senators. Yes, it happened.
What's the reaction to Van Hollen down in El Salvador making a case for an illegal gangbanger that two judges had said? Are the people of Maryland surprised? Are they supportive of this? Just give me a feel for it.
Well, Maryland is polarized just like Colorado is. So it depends on the political affiliation of the person you speak to.
Gotcha. All right, let's talk about the topic at hand. We have a bill that's making it through our Colorado legislature called House Bill 1312, and it basically, ultimately, the bottom line is if you don't buy into transgender ideology, the school or a teacher or another parent thinks your child needs to transition to a different gender, then if you don't go along with it, they can come and make it a custody battle, child abuse. Even in Colorado, the bill is dead naming. They use this phrase dead naming, that if you happen to use, it used to be John, and now you don't call him Juanita, then you're dead naming, and that's a hate crime, and they can take your child from you. These are some serious, serious matters, and it's not just, there's actually legislators and governors signing this stuff into law.
It has happened, Jimmy. This is just sort of the latest episode in what I call the war on truth and the war on the family. And so, yes, you probably heard that just a couple of days ago in the United Kingdom, the UK Supreme Court declared that transgenderism is not a legal entity, and it's basically a foolish concept. So, the battle is being won literally around the globe, but slowly. But there are people who are, who are sort of carrying on with this Marxist ideology and trying to figure out, well, what is another way we can remove parents from their children? And that this bill in Colorado, which I think is I'm not aware of any other state that has such a really totally crazy bill. And it's not just the child affirms that they are transgender, is the other parent says, oh, Johnny or Sally is transgender, without any confirmation from the actual child. So that in itself, if the other parent, according to the Colorado bill, if the other parent disagrees, that could be seen as a basis for coercive control. Now, if that's not outright foolishness, I don't know what is.
The Colorado bill, I'm sitting here looking at it. It's not just in the Colorado bill that passes that one parent can say, no, you're transgender. You can just say, oh, the kid's gay. The kid's part of the LGBTQ movement in any way. You don't have to say the child's going to transition. You just, as a parent, say, no, my child's part of the LGBTQ IA plus community. And if you don't go along with that, well, fight for custody.
I know. It truly is sad. And this is a global problem. And we see it especially in Europe. We see it especially in certain states in the United States. It's a battle that continues. It's reminiscent of the U.S. Civil War in terms of how deeply divided the society is on this particular issue. But it is an issue. There have been a lot of public opinion polls. They all show that a majority of Americans are opposed to this transgenderism concept. And the latest polls I've seen are like, 75, 80% of Americans say this is sheer utter nonsense.
So you have parents, let's say you get a kind of a fracas with a spouse and custody battle breaks out. You would think you're going to go to the judge and you're going to say, listen, this is a child that was born this way and she's crazy. But even now, I've got 3 stories in front of me: a Texas father, a New York father, an Indiana couple, all actually went to court. And it's not just a crazy ex or a crazy spouse. It's not just some indoctrinated school district. These are actually courts in Texas, New York, and Indiana that are ruling against parents. So it's not just some woke parent that's causing this problem. It's actually in the judicial system.
Yeah, we're not just talking about a crazy, stupid, radical fringe. This ideology has ingratiated itself into the judiciary in certain states, and it's specific judges, because a given judge has a lot of autonomy. And so, yeah, the 3 cases you mentioned are truly horrific. That there's no relation. I mean, the concept of parental rights is affirmed in the United States Constitution in the 14th Amendment. So we're talking about long affirmed rights of parents to oversee and determine, to look after their education, their welfare, their religious upbringing. All of these things are well established, well defined in law. But again, every state and every judge can interpret the law in different ways.
You have an organization called SAVE, and we can talk about that. Stop Abusive and Violent Environments. You're a 501c3 organization. At some point, we do have to stop these abusive and violent environments, which are usually geared against just people who believe in traditional values, people that believe in traditional identity of what how you're born and your gender and your sex, and that's who the violence is going against now. What do we need to do to stop and stem this? As you said, the majority of people don't like this, and yet somehow we continue to put school board members and judges and governors that appoint this type of radical ideology that goes against what we think. We got to stop it, though. We got to stop it quick. How do we do that, Ed Bartlett?
Well, I'm sure, of course, everybody knows about the Boston Tea Party, and I'm going to sort of tell you a newer version of the Boston Tea Party. It happened in the great state of Connecticut. Connecticut has a law that mandates tampons be dispensed in all school bathrooms, including boy bathrooms. So this actually happened last year. They installed the tampon dispenser in the boy bathroom in one of the high schools there. Literally within 20 minutes, the boys went in there, tore the dispenser off the wall, trampled on the whole thing, and just said, "This is so utterly ridiculous. We're not going to tolerate this." Well, I commend those boys for speaking out and doing something courageous. Let's do that. Let's let those boys inspire all of us to get involved with our school boards. Visit the classroom, visit the school library, and speak out.
Wow. There's my computer just glitched on me here in a second. I know that you said that there's some Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina and Virginia Foxx of North Carolina have introduced some laws in the hallowed halls of the Senate. What's happening on the government level? I'm glad the kids stand up and boys get to stand up and be boys and say, keep the girls' products out of our bathroom. What's happening legislatively around America?
Wow, well, that's a huge question. So there are a number of states. I think sort of the broader issue here is the right of parents, and in particular fathers. I mean, there are a lot of policies and laws that serve to remove or discourage parental father involvement with their children, especially if there's been a divorce. Right? That's sort of the stroke of death for many fathers who, even though they want shared 50-50 joint custody, they can't get it for a host of reasons. There are a lot of reasons why family court has gone corrupt. So fortunately, there are a number of states. Missouri is probably the most important state. They have several bills designed to assure what's called a presumption of equal shared custody, 50-50 shared custody. So Missouri is the leading state. There's other bills and other good bills in other states. So that's probably the key issue that we want to focus on is 50-50 shared custody for divorced dads.
SAVE is the name of your organization. Ed Bartlett is his name. And if you want to join in, learn more about SAVE and how they're helping to stand up against the transgender ideology and making sure fathers have rights and don't lose their kids in these battles, and fairness and due process actually exist. How do they follow you, Ed?
Yeah, well, we are actually a conglomerate of several organizations. So SAVE is saveservices.org, saveservices.org, whereas the Domestic Abuse and Violence International Alliance is end2dv.org, end2 as in TODV as in domestic violence.org. So we're attacking this issue on a variety of fronts, both in the US and internationally.
There it is on the screen. SAVE, SAVE, services.org. All things Edward Bartlett can be found there. And stay safe up there in the state of Maryland. We appreciate you hopping on here again. Ed Bartlett, SAVE, services.org. All right, in just a moment, we're going to be joined by Mark Baisley, who's running for governor in the great state of Colorado. Also want to talk about an event we have coming up 1 month from yesterday. It's less than a month away now. It's May 17th. But before we do all of that fun stuff, let's do this. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll pay some bills, tell you about some great ways you can support the program. Everybody stand by. Lakey, yes, this is a hotel room in all of its glory. I'm traveling today. I'll be traveling the next few days as I have been. But hey, the show goes on, right? The show goes on. Stand by. Lakey has been unleashed from the confines of corporate radio. Everybody stand by. Lakey back in just a moment, I promise you.
1 Hour Heating and Air Conditioning is on call 24/7, even on weekends and holidays. We pride ourselves in our on-time guarantees. In addition to installation and repairs, we offer maintenance services. So no matter when you need us, you can always count on 1 Hour Heating and Air Conditioning to keep your system running. Check out our family of brands for all of your service needs, including electrical and plumbing.
1 Hour Heating and Air Conditioning.
How you holding up? Nothing wrong with getting help.
If I promise to look into it, will you drop it and help me build this fence?
Now you need my help.
If you or a veteran you know needs support, don't wait. Reach out. Find resources at va.gov/reach.
Pollster Nate Silver says the Democrats are so screwed right now that AOC, that's Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who has no cerebral cortex, I don't think, but she's most likely to lead the Dems on a 2028 ticket. Good luck with that. I have to say good luck with that. Most likely to lead the Dems. Anyway, good to have all of you here on the program. We're over the next several days, weeks, months, going to be talking a lot about the upcoming midterm election. Those of us in the state of Colorado are going to get to choose a new governor. And if you've heard me talk again this platform throughout the day, it's handfuls here, handfuls there, handful there. And then by the end of the week, a show gets thousands and thousands of views. And we are grateful for that. But many of you from different states. And I oftentimes say, just because we talk about it in the state of Colorado doesn't mean you should not be aware. It just means that these are battles that are happening in your state. You just happen to not have too many crazies to make these crazy ideas come true. In Colorado, we have a hell of a lot of crazy people, including our existing governor, who has been a disappointment to say the least, a disaster to say in a very kind way. And he's finally term limited out. We'll warn all of you in America, when he runs for president, run as far away from this guy as you can. He's a real problem. Don't let him screw your state like he is, or screw our nation like he has screwed the state of Colorado. Well, one of those people jumping in for the governor's race, wanting to be the Republican nominee and next year, and see if he can take back the governor's mansion. His name is Mark Baisley. He served for years in the state legislature. Mark Baisley, good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Jimmy. Great to be back on your show, or at least I don't think I've been on your podcast before. I shouldn't be on your radio shows before.
Yeah, the first time on the podcast, but welcome in, sir. For
You.
those who don't know, obviously, new platform, new audience throughout the day. People listen throughout the day on like live radio where you kind of got one shot. People be listening to this 4 o'clock this afternoon, 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Who the heck is Mark Baisley, for those who don't know?
Well, first of all, they should watch it 4 o'clock this afternoon and then 8 o'clock again, and maybe right before they go to sleep. So who, I was raised by two wonderful parents who stayed together until my dad passed 4 years ago. And my father was a construction engineer, energy construction engineer. So we moved around a lot, which feeds into why I'm involved in politics in the first place, because I had a bit of an international upbringing. And when you live away from the United States, you appreciate the United States. The absence makes your heart grow fonder, truly. And there was just a moment when I was 15 years old, living in Puerto Rico, and expressing that to a friend of mine, one of my classmates, and one of the priests at this all boys boarding school I was attending overheard my comment about good old US of A, and he said, "Yeah, your nation's a very special place, and if you want to understand why, you'll go read your founding document." So, and that was a high academics school, and that was the sort of place where if one of the priests said that to you, that means, and I will quiz you on it when I see you in the hallway tomorrow, which he did. Anyway, that kind of launched my my adventure towards trying to restore what the founders gave us in 1776 and bring us back to that. So, when I got bigger after living abroad for quite a while, South Africa and Puerto Rico and so on, I went to work for NASA and at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. And that was the beginning of my aerospace career. I live in Colorado because what is now Lockheed Martin, back then was Martin Marietta, moved me to Colorado 36 years ago as an aerospace engineer. And so I've launched 2 of my own companies. And so I'm still working on the second one, get 8 months out of session and 4 months in the Colorado legislature session. And so I work in the defense intelligence world still, doing software development, and with my small group of genius people that are a lot smarter than me. And I have served in the House of Representatives here in Colorado for 4 years. And I'm in my 3rd year, wrapping up my 3rd session in the state Senate. So there's and I have a wonderful wife that was my high school girlfriend from Puerto Rico, and 47 years we've been married. We have 4 kids and 7 grandkids. So there you go.
All right, let's dive into this governor's race. You've been in Colorado, I think you said 36 years, about 8 or 9 years longer than I have, maybe 10 years longer. I do the math. Colorado has changed a lot in those 36 years. It was even, I would say, the most drastic amount of change has come in the last 6-7 years under Jared Polis and this new band of merry Democrats that are down in the state legislature. Give me your thoughts on it. Colorado, in my estimation, has been destroyed the way we knew it by Jared Polis. And what can we do? What do we need to do to right the ship once again?
Yeah, well, you're absolutely right. It was a very different place when you and I first moved to this incredible state, but I believe it's worth saving. So yeah, we have been in the super minority position for 10 years now. So yes, the last 6 years have been very bad, but it was 10 years ago that the Democrats took control of the House and the Senate and the governor's mansion, all 3 of those legs of the stool. And that's what it takes to get a bill passed into law. It needs to pass out of both chambers, the House and the Senate, and the governor needs to sign it into law. So that's been happening. I actually gave this some thought. I thought, well, we had that once. We had that within our memory 20 years ago. The Democrats had the House and the Senate and the governor's mansion. What did we do with it? Well, I'll tell you what we did. We created the Taxpayers' Bill of Rights, which is the envy of the U.S. And that is when the Democrats, or when a municipality or a county or the state wants to raise taxes, they have to go to the people and get permission. And if they collect more money than what they're authorized to spend, then they have to give it back. So that's what you get with Republicans in office. Probably get some silly things as well, but nothing like what we get when Democrats are in office. When Democrats are in office, then we have the size of our government grows immensely, and they go from utilitarian things like roads and bridges to micromanaging our lives, and so it becomes a big social game. In fact, it occurred to me in my second year, I'm sitting there in the House Representatives and thinking, how do we get such radical bills passed into law? This is nuts. I've gotten to know these Democrats, and they're not all radical people. There's maybe 5% of them are radicals, but the thing is, they have this collectivist mindset to where if one of the radicals introduces a crazy bill, they all vote for it, and then Governor Polis signs it into law. So we just get crazy stuff, and they don't stop. They still have the majority control in the House and the Senate, governor's office. So for me, I'm frankly tired of working on playing on defense. I've been playing defense for 7 years now, and it feels like I'm holding up an avalanche that's moving, whether we like it or not, and we're trying to slow it down. But it's time to start taking it back. So
you're much more gracious than I am. I hear people say, "Oh, there's some nice ones down there, but they just vote along with these crazies." If you vote for it just because it wasn't your idea, you're as batshit crazy as the other guy. I'm nicer. You're nicer than me. These people are crazy. They're absolutely insane. Just because they didn't think about it doesn't mean that they're good. Some of this stuff's crazy. House Bill 1312. If you did name a child, I mean, parental rights out the window. Anybody that votes for that can't. I can't give them a lot of credit. That's crazy stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Think about that. There's Erin Lee. You must know Erin Lee. She's
I know her.
From your neck of the woods. Imagine the nightmare she's going through. And I just saw her. She was up at the Capitol the last couple of days. But imagine the nightmare for her, where her daughter was recruited into a trans lifestyle by her school on an after-school program that they called the Art Club, right? And they were able to sit with her. Erin's husband, in particular, as she tells the story, just sat with the daughter, and after a couple of weeks of trying to deal with it, and just said, "Hey, you're a girl, you're a woman, you're not a guy." And she just had to sit there and reassess and said, "God, you're right, Dad." And she's fine now. She's back, aligning with her biology, and all is good. Now, if House Bill 1312 passes, that would be grounds to remove her from the home. That conversation with her dad. So Erin Lee, of course, is just like, oh my gosh, what we were just able to do just by being normal parents would now become illegal. It's frightening stuff.
It is frightening stuff, and anybody who votes for it, I don't know what I have no nice words for them. Mark Macy, let's talk about what we do need to do to fix Colorado. Obviously, you want to be the governor. You think you have the plan or can introduce a plan, and even if you win, we're still going to have a lot of Democrats. We're going to be considered a purple state. We're not a bright red state by any means. What does Mark Baisley want to do should you get the opportunity to start righting the wrongs of Colorado? What's the Mark Baisley plan?
Yeah. So I like to start focusing on what government ought to be doing, where government ought to be playing in our lives, and not become the church, which is where the Democrats have created the state to be their church. And by the way, once you realize that, and everything starts to make sense, the things that they're doing. But I have been working. So what I want to do in the executive branch is to further what I have been doing in the legislative branch, and that is to create economic opportunity, to return the focus of government on building the infrastructure to facilitate commerce. I mean, we should not be getting involved in people's social lives or social construct. We should pave the roads, literally. We should have some good roads. We should have some good, strong bridges, and all the other things that are more metaphorically infrastructure, like internet access in the rural areas and so on. I've been working towards all of that. So I'll give you examples of, in fact, this is what kind of queued up my running for governor in the first place. So I worked a couple of years ago hard on the CHIPS Act to facilitate bringing semiconductor manufacturing away from China, which is a goal of the United States, nationally, and bring some of that to Colorado. So I worked on that. That really got the attention, and I hate to give him any credit, especially on the Jimmy Lakey podcast, but Governor Polis saw my interest in the quantum computing world during the working on the CHIPS Act, and asked me to run the bill to get Colorado designated as the quantum hub, as a tech hub for quantum. And so that was quite a competition. We worked real hard, flying back to DC and training up our U.S. senators' staffs to help us to work on the ground to compete for it there. And we won that one. We won that one almost a year ago today, almost exactly today, a year ago. And that brings in over $1 billion of investment in trying to develop and keep the United States in the lead when it comes to quantum computing, the application of quantum physics. And so that's happening. We've got 3,000 jobs so far being built in Colorado, some cool spin-off companies. I got a cryogenics company and a clean laser company, a spin-off from that. So towards that. And then the last thing I worked on heavily to bring work to Colorado, Jobs Colorado, is the Sundance Film Festival, which is, I know, is the other side of the brain, the creative side. And they're not all left-wing crazies. Obviously, most of them are, but this would bring the Sundance Film Festival, and it will. We just won that one. I worked on that one hard. It'll bring the film festival to Colorado for the next 10 years. It'll be like having the Super Bowl hosted in Colorado. And so every year for 10 years, that's their commitment. And that's going to bring quite a bit of revenue. It's 2.5 weeks of people gathering, primarily in Boulder, but it will spill all across the Front Range. And I got commitments from the chairman of the board of the film festival that they will spread the wealth across the state. We have smaller film festivals that they will incorporate across the state. So just anything that I can do to bring opportunity. And reason is when we have the dignity of work and we have the ability to pay for our own living and our families, and then maybe a little something left over for folks around us that are not doing quite as well. We stop worrying as much about things like affordable housing and all the social ills that happen when we're healthy, and when we're healthy in a measurable way financially. So that's my number one, and I spent a lot of time on that. But I'll real fast. I'll say also education. Which I've spent a lot of time in education, and the idea there is to make education relevant to all those good jobs coming in, so that we're not spending time on indoctrination, and then safety. So safety in the areas of crime, fighting, especially the Tren de Aragua stuff. I've run bills towards that, trying to solve those. And then the wildfires, I worked quite a bit on bringing us the assets, the equipment, the aircraft to fight the wildfires. Worked on the insurance aspects of that, and emergency management services. And anyway, just make this government do what it's supposed to be doing, and focus on just supporting the people in a way that government ought to be working, and quit messing around with being the people's church. Let the church be the church.
Let me ask you this question, that obviously it would be you or another Republican that become the nominee. But once somebody becomes the nominee, Republicans have had a tough time winning statewide in several now election cycles. Yeah. What do Republicans need to do? How do we win statewide? We've had great people. I loved Heidi Ganahl. I think she was mistreated by the Denver-centric media. I think Jared Polis was a condescending guy and treated her with disdain. I think there was a lot of misogyny there. That said, that's behind us. How do we overcome what we know will be an antagonistic Denver-centric media? We know that we'll be all the great things that you've talked about. You're going to be as somebody that's going to be against the poor. They're going to demonize you, and the people that you even give the credit to today, they will demonize you, that you're going to steal money from babies and things like that. How do we win? How do we win statewide?
So for one, just stay focused on the mission is kind of the number one, and raise a poop load of money is another thing. Something I've been preached to the guys that talked me into this in the first place, which is the business community asking me to try to fix the business climate in Colorado, because we're going to chase companies out of Colorado. There's artificial intelligence, of course, is the new buzz. And we have AI development companies in Colorado, and they're saying, hey, we may have to move out of Colorado just to exist, just to survive, and certainly to thrive. So to create that, so that's got to be the focus. And I told them, I think I can bring the base if you guys will bring the money. So we had our first fundraiser that they held last night. So I think I'll get the funding that it will take for this. And in fact, I think that's a differentiator between me and my good friends on the Republican side of the aisle who are going to run for this. Is I'll have the money. I'll have the money, and the base knows me and knows that I'm a staunch conservative and have the most conservative record in the state Senate. But I think the bigger answer to your good question there, Jimmy, is to work kind of almost in spite of the party structure, because we're still not healed yet. We just elected a new chair, and she's going to do great things, I'm sure, but they're still arm wrestling over the last 2 years. And so we need to move forward. So what I intend to do is team up with our congressional delegation. And I'm thrilled that we've won Congressional District 8, Gabe Evans winning that seat. He's got Yadira Caraveo coming back to challenging him for it again. We got to make sure that he wins that again. But if we can team up with the 4 seats that we have, Gabe Evans and Jeff Hurd and Jeff Crank and Lauren Boebert, they have not only a big reach across the state, but they've got money and the ability to bring money. So what I intend to do is team up with them and invite the party as well to participate where it makes sense, and to do 2 things. One is we need to register the heck out of people to vote over the next year and a half. And then the big moment, of course, is to get out the vote. So it's all focused on that one thing that matters, us getting more votes than the other side. So I want to just do everything, spend every bit of energy just towards that. How do we get our people to register to vote, who will vote for us, and then turn them out, get them to actually cast their ballot?
I think when people start to realize, sometimes it's like the frog in the boiling water. It's gotten so warm in Colorado so slowly, in a sense that the frog doesn't know that but you start looking at the measurements of our school performance, how disastrous it's been, not just pre-COVID, but we've never gotten back to COVID levels. We still lead the nation in crime when it comes to bank robberies, when it comes to stolen vehicles. I mean, when people start to realize, really, Colorado's become that bad? And it has. I mean, the place that I used to like to go, downtown Denver, on occasion, is not somewhere that I would necessarily want to go on a Friday date night. It's it has become taking the scales off even some people in Colorado's eyes to go, okay, yeah, you're right. It has slipped downhill pretty quickly. It's sometimes we don't realize how dirty the carpet is until we get it cleaned and go, oh shoot, my carpet was pretty dirty.
That's a good metaphor, or that's a yucky metaphor. I'm not sure, but you are so right. And really just picture, and it's not hard to do, picture how things looked and felt 20 years ago. And it is quite a bit different, but the state's phenomenal. I mean, just venture down another little path. A couple years ago, I addressed through legislation an issue that was brought to me where access to the 14,000 foot peaks, so the 14ers, and that is one aspect of tourism. And tourism is our biggest industry in Colorado. We still attract a lot of people through hunting and skiing and just venturing through the mountains and so on. Well, we had a law in the books for decades that said that if a property owner allowed access across their property for recreation, like hiking a 14,000 foot peak, then they were limited in their liability. They would not be liable if that person got hurt. And some of these property owners, they'll own tens of thousands of acres that have been in their family for years. And there's even a couple of 14,000 foot peaks that are privately owned. So if they're out allowing people, and these are, I've met a lot of them, wonderful people that are just, they think Colorado is what it's always supposed to have been, as a place to access things like 50 some odd 14,000 foot peaks. So they just invite people for no benefit to themselves. And well, someone successfully sued a property owner for having got hurt bad on a trail, riding a mountain bike on a trail that got washed out, and he got badly hurt, and sued successfully for $7.3 million. So that just shut down a lot of the mountain peaks. So I got to work on that. It took me 2 years to get a bill passed that would relieve them of their liability concern. And guess who I fought? The Democrats' biggest donors, the trial attorneys. They thought, what a great idea. We can start suing for $7 million, all these guys. But anyway, got that back open. So what that has done is that got me in connection with 24 recreation groups that are not typically, lovers of the Republican Party. But they came back to me today, and obviously we built a really nice working relationship and friendship. So they came back to me a couple months ago and said, "Hey, we got a new issue that has to do with access, and that has to do with the streams. We run into this every now and then where we're floating down a stream on a kayak, or we're fly fishing in the river, and a property owner pulls up on an ATV with a great big old rifle and says, 'Get off my property.'" And so that has become an issue. And what it is a lack of clarity of where can someone recreate on water. And of course, we've got rivers throughout the state. So I'm working on that. Now, the reason I bring all that up is this brings interest from a whole crowd that I would not otherwise have had access to. Great folk who are just trying to make Colorado. And so we're gonna make it clear. The laws talk about navigable river, navigable streams. That becomes a public area, the water on that. But sometimes a navigable stream is only navigable for 4 months of the year. We're going to figure that out next year and try to help boost the outdoor recreation aspect of this incredible state.
Well, you mentioned kind of putting together a unique coalition outside of what we call the party. Those outside the state don't know that Colorado's Republican Party has been in a little bit of a, let's understated, chaos for the last little bit. And I think that's probably a good strategy. Hopefully the party will get itself back in alignment and operational. But right now it's hugely still divided, and it's going to take some outside strategy to make that thing happen. And
the Sundance Film Festival has introduced new areas. Cyclists that through that who see me up in Boulder welcoming the Sundance Film Festival board to Colorado. And so they just approached me in the past couple of days and said, "Hey, you're interesting. We've never voted for a Republican before, but I think we will this time. Let's talk." So it is those coalitions, and it is going to be take a whole different approach. And we call it in my campaign, not my term. I have engaged and hired a really impressive campaign team that's got a lot of scars that they wear because of the failures, because we all learn from our failures, right? A lot more than our successes. And so they're bringing all that, and they emphasize the micro targeting. They emphasize reaching out into areas where we not traditionally have not been, and where there's leadership, there's social leadership, and we can align with the folks who are in social leadership of those coalitions and bring them along. But we're going to need to do all of that because the Democrats have been outsmarting us a lot, and obviously they've been winning everything. They have such majorities already, but I think they've just been outsmarting us, outworking us, and so we've got to step up and be even better than they are. And so that's my plan.
Mark Baisley, for those who are kind of just already thinking of governor's race for next year, what's the timeline here? Obviously, next November 26th is the election. Obviously, there's going to be some primary. How does it work for you to actually become the nominee?
So the three phases of that are: first, the the assembly, which is the gathering of about 5,000 activist Republicans that get elected to that position of delegate on caucus night. So the caucus night will be February of next year, and people will gather in high schools all around the state and elect amongst themselves delegates to the assembly. And at the assembly, those of us vying for the Republican nomination, we will make our pitch to those that gathering of 5,000, and we have to earn at least 30% of the vote at that one-day gathering to be placed on the primary ballot. And then so the primary race will happen. The primary election will happen in June of 2026, and we'll have to account for having an open primary. So we'll have to make our pitch not only to the Republicans, but to any unaffiliated who decide that they're going to vote in the Republican primary. And then in early November, it will be the general election between hopefully me and whoever the Democrats pick, Phil Weiser or probably Michael Bennet.
It should be interesting, and it's not as far away as you think. You think about this time next year, we will be seeing television ads, mailing ads, door knockers, etc. So it's coming up. Mark Baisley, we'll continue the conversation. If folks want to learn more about you, go to a website, donate, ask you questions. Where are all things Mark Baisley at?
All things Mark Baisley are markbaisley.com. Could not be easier. markbaisley.com. And yeah, my first ad is already up and playing, and you can, of course, contribute to my campaign from there. Thank you, Jimmy. I appreciate this.
Mark Baisley, we'll do it again very soon, and we'll cut this down. We'll not only have it on the live stream, but we will also break it down into that. Don't forget, all the things that you see here are available within an hour or so of when they happen on all the platforms. Will be at iHeart, Spotify, Apple Podcast. Everything you're watching live goes out as a podcast here a little bit later as well. So you not just get the live glorious video edition, but you can also go watch the audio only. That's Mark Baisley, markbaisley.com, markbaisley.com. We'll have this interview in the context, and we'll separate it out so you can just watch the Mark Baisley interview. And we'll get a lot of these candidates on as they declare and as they proclaim their name, especially for the state of Colorado and other states statewide. We'd love to have them on, especially in Colorado, because I have a vested interest there, being that I live in Colorado, and it's gone to hell in a handbasket, and I would like to get it out of that handbasket on the way to hell. So markbaisley.com. Check him out, and we'll talk to Mark in the days that lie ahead. All right, if you notice the glorious glow behind me, that is not Jesus coming out of the tomb. Like I wonder if it lit up like that. That's a question I always had when he when he came out of the tomb. How bright was it? Yeah. So maybe this is symbolic of that, but actually that's outside. I'm in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and here we are in a hotel room. I'll be back in the hotel room on Monday. Last week I was in Missouri, before that Dallas. So you're kind of getting used to it. But normally we're in the glorious studio at the House of Lakey at the Lakey Entertainment Towers, and we do the show live. But if you're new and just watching it, you're saying, what is he, homeless? No, I'm not homeless. I'm in a hotel, and just for the next couple of days. Good to have you here. Let me remind you also about Sherry Cree. Homeswithsherry.com, homeswithsherry.com. If you're looking for a house in this time of the year, maybe you're in one of those areas of Colorado that you're like, there's better areas. There's got to be a better place to live. Let Sherry help you find that. Maybe you're in that area where Mark Baisley is talking about the Trenton de Aragua, and you want to be far, far away. Maybe you want to see if you can find a property in which you can own your own 14er, like Mark Baisley talked about. Listen, whatever the case may be, homeswithsherry.com. You need a home in the mountains, let her help you. If you're in that I-25 corridor, let's say from Castle Rock on up to Parker and Highlands Ranch and Denver and Aurora and Broomfield, Lakewood, Littleton, you get the idea. Anywhere out there, homeswithsherry.com. She wants to be your realtor for life. It's not about just a transaction this spring or this summer. It's about learning about you, learning about your family, learning about your real estate goals, and helping you achieve them, because she believes that if you work together, work hard, and work smart, then real estate can create generational wealth. Homeswithsherry.com. You owe it to yourself. She's a white glove realtor in the fact that she provides white glove service to you. It's just top notch. She thinks of everything. And even sometimes she'll think of the things that no one else thought of. And again, just talk to her, get some advice. She's had people I've mentioned that talk to her and then they disappear and she doesn't hear from them. She's like, well, they didn't like me. No, they call her in 2 years, say that was the best advice ever. We stayed put. We didn't sell. Now we're going to sell. And again, it's all about it's all about strategy in the real estate. Homeswithsherry.com. You want to move into the state of Colorado, she can help you. If you're trying to move out, she can help you buy, sell what you got the idea. I recommend her, homeswithsherry.com. Sherry Cree, homeswithsherry.com. And make sure you tell her that I, Jimmy Lakey, told you to be in touch. And again, no obligation. Have a conversation with her and just kind of get to know her and talk about what you want to do. Homeswithsherry.com. All right, a couple of stories I want to get to and do meme roulette. Donald Trump says Van Hollen from Maryland looked like a fool at the meeting, and he did. As a matter of fact, the Trump War Room yesterday declared that Senator Van Hollen, I'm going to have to explain some words to some of you because your peers have driven snow. The Trump War Room declared that Senator Chris Van Hollen yesterday was the inaugural cuck of the day. After the Democrat traveled to El Salvador to meet with Kilmar Abrego Garcia, an illegal alien suspected gang member who the Trump administration deported. Abrego Garcia's case is at the center of a legal battle over his removal, which the administration has admitted was due to an administrative error. He is not an American citizen and is suspected member of MS-13 gang. Two American judges have said he is a member. El Salvadorian President Bukele has declined to return him to the United States. Abrego Garcia resided in Maryland, but was subject to withholding order preventing his deportation. The word cuck is internet lingo for cuckold. Don't look it up unless it could get dangerous, depending on the context of it. But the White House, the Trump War Room, says he's the cuck of the day, which is the internet lingo for cuckold. It does not typically refer to the world's traditional meaning. Rather, it generally references a man desperate for public approval to the point of compromising his belief and sacrificing his dignity. That's what they say. We're calling him a cuckold, not because of some pornographic term, because this man is so desperate to virtue signal and have public approval that he will compromise his beliefs and sacrifice his own personal dignity. And if you watch this guy groveling down there over a gang-banging man and never groveling once for an American citizen held hostage by Hamas in Gaza, an American citizen, there's 4 or 5 of them there, he's never groveled for them. It shows that this man has sacrificed all personal dignity if he had anything. And all of you in the state of Maryland need to know this guy's a pretty disgusting hombre. Not just the illegal, but the senator from the state of Missouri. All right. I want to remind you it's Good Friday, and it's got to be nice on Good Friday, right? I got the light reminding us of the resurrection behind me. It's actually, we probably should close the blinds back there. Everybody, Easter Sunday, I will hope that you will celebrate accordingly. Our question of the day was, what is your favorite Easter candy? And of course, the Reese's peanut butter egg was the big one. And a lot of you like the Robin eggs, which are the malted milk ball, basically Whoppers with pastels on them. But hey, I always do this every year. I used to do this on radio because we had what's called the ASCAP license, and we could do it. And we would always play Aretha Franklin or somebody singing "Were You There When They Crucified My Lord?" That was always a great song. We don't do that because we don't have the musical license to do that. But do this. Rather than just eating the Whoppers and the Robin eggs and the Easter eggs, remember exactly what Easter is all about. And I know some of you prefer not to call it Easter. I don't get tied up in that. I know you think that's the pagan reference. We're supposed to call it Resurrection Sunday. Call it what you want. It's all about the death today, the burial, the rest of the day of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And if you don't know Jesus, and hey, he died for all of us. He died for you, died for me. So happy Resurrection Day, happy Easter. That may freak some of you out, and I hope you celebrate accordingly. Let's have some fun here. The memes that we steal covered by grace and mercy because of his death, burial, and resurrection. So when we say we steal memes, let us know Jesus' resurrection covers the stealing of the memes, because we repent after every meme. I gotta start traveling with the globe. Round and round the world we go. We just meme roulette. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Let's see what's up first. Ladies and gentlemen, our first meme of the day, it's audio only, but I'll try to help you. Me trying to get in shape 24 hours before my beach vacation. Anybody relate to that? Yeah. Trying to get in shape 24 hours. I gotta lose my belly here. What do? I need to lose it the next week. Took a while to grow it. It's going to take a while to get rid of it. Sadly, that's the case. Round and round the world we go. Where we steal the meme from, no one knows. Here's a photo of a man and woman together, captioned from the Babylon Bee: man shows wife how to close the 8,537 browser tabs that she has open. She's looking so amazed at him. Amazing how talented her husband is. that man's going to get lucky with her being so excited about that. All right, here we go. Oh, by the way, see my title today? I'm the Supreme Stream King. Yeah, I'm the Stream King. You got it. That's different than the Lion King or the Tiger King. But here I am. Round and round the world we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Only in Florida is where we steal this. Where we steal it from Tampa. There's a photo. Deadly heat wave is coming, says the news, and Floridians go, you mean summer? Yeah, it's just summer. Deadly heat wave. You're going to hear the deadly heat wave coming. It's called summertime. It happens in America. One more. Round and round the world we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. This is another one from Babylon B. Liberals warn that enforcing immigration law is a slippery slope because it may lead to enforcing other laws. Be very, very careful out there. Don't want to enforce too many laws. Hey, yesterday I sent out a, here we go. Astronauts. I still laugh. There's Katy Perry, Gail, Oprah's girlfriend, and all these. I don't know who the rest of these broads are. But the display and the self-importance of this was a mission, this was a journey. You were in the air for 10 minutes, and it wasn't anything earth-conquering. And by the way, I think it was said, somebody asked me the crew, they expounded on it in an email, they said the crew of the spaceship. Were they crew or were they just passengers? And somebody made a whole argument on an email, and I don't know if this is like maybe everyone else is, I'm just late to the game, but they really weren't crew, were they? They didn't do anything. You know, I flew to Dallas yesterday, and we were delayed coming out of Denver because of strong winds at DIA, and so we sat on the tarmac for about an hour and 15 minutes and just sat there and waited for, because everyone was backed up on the takeoff because of the heavy winds and the wind shears. So we had to, fortunately, we got out of town before they started canceling flights. So, but I was on the spacecraft or the airplane for a couple of hours with the trip and the probably 3 hours. I'm sitting there, but the most I did was had a Coke Zero and a cookie, and I dozed off, took a little nap, and I watched a little television, and I had my phone hooked up to the internet. I was in no part crew of the plane. I was a passenger, and these ladies are either the astronaut crew. Were they crew? Did they do anything? I don't think they did anything. It was all remote control. They lined up, they went down. They weren't crew. they were not crew. If somebody could tell me what they did as crew, I would love to know. All right. Hey, I sent an email yesterday, though, while I was traveling, and it went out, I think yesterday, it goes out today again, that our charity in Rwanda, Rivers Promise, one of the things we do is send kids to school. The other thing we do is we feed them. If we send them to school and they're hungry, it doesn't really do good because you're not going to learn when you're starving. But we don't want to just feed them. We want to also have the gift of education. Feeding is great for nutrition, health, but they're going to get hungry again. But if we can long-term give them the ladder, I call it the ladder that they can use, education, to climb from the pit of extreme poverty, then we have changed a kid's life, his life, but also generational changes happened. And so that's what we work on doing every day with Rivers Promise. And we have this year has been a little tougher in our fundraising going on. And I would like to have your help. I sent an email yesterday just reminding everybody on our email list. If you want to be on the email list, I think you can sign up on our website. If not, send me an email. I'll sign you up. But it basically reminded you what I tell you every day. $30 feeds a child for 30 days, 2 times a day. That's $30 feeds about 60 meals. Is what it's going to do, and we will feed them twice a day. If you add 35 to that, 65 not only provides the food, but it also sends the child to school, and that's important as well. Now I know everybody out there under the sound of my dulcet tones is at a different place. Some of you can do the $35. Some of you can do the $5. Some of you can do $650 and do 10 kids. Some of you can just say a prayer, and some of you could probably do $6,500. Listen, we could use your help on that. The money's going to go straight to what we say it goes to, and that's going to be to feeding the kids, taking care of them, and overcoming a little shortfalls that we've had this year in our fundraising. We have a pretty big gap this month. I see, what is today? We are I need to be sending money the next 2 days, and we're still short. We're short on last month as well. And that's just part of life. It is part of fundraising. It's because we commit to kids, and we don't want to remove kids from our program just because sponsors may come or sponsors may go or sponsors may have to pull out or whatever. If you have a person who sponsors 5 kids and suddenly they're he had a hard time and not able to sponsor the 5 kids. We don't want to pull those 5 kids out and say, sorry, Tough Tacos, your sponsor can no longer sponsor you, so you're out of there. We try to keep it going, and that's kind of what we face on a regular basis. And so anytime that you even could just donate to the general fund, $65, $30, if you could do that today, that is a huge blessing to us, and it allows us to keep kids in school or in the feeding program that maybe don't have a sponsor to do that. Maybe they one time did, maybe they're just in this, whatever. You get the idea. It allows us to help do what we do. We have no paid staff in the United States of America. Jimmy Lakey does not take a salary from this charity organization. We have our board members do not get paid. Nobody. We have a couple of teachers and a small staff in Rwanda, but they make a Rwandan wage, and you'd be shocked on how easy it is to live in Rwanda on a small amount of money. Maybe we should move there, producer Chad. Maybe we should. Ladies and gentlemen, if you could donate, riverspromise.org, $30 feeds a child 2 meals a day for 30 days, $65 feeds them and sends them to school for the entire month. It's riverspromise.org. I'd love for you to do it. And don't forget this, less than a month away now, we're at our casino gala. It's going to be the Omni Interlaken Hotel. And that is at the Broomfield, Omni Interlaken Hotel in Broomfield, Colorado. It's May 17th. Tickets are available, riverspromise.org, presented by Budget Home Supply in Longmont. Give some love to Budget Home Supply. We always love their support. And again, Rivers Promise Casino Gala. Tables are available. Individual tickets are available. There's a poker element. You don't have to be a big gambler because it's not really gambling. It's just kind of a gala, casino themed. There's going to be some games you can play, but it's just going to be a great night. Frank Sinatra's going to be there, reincarnated, live music, cash bars open. We got food provided. It's all May 17th. I'd love to see you there. It's less than a month away. Hope to see you there. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm in Dallas. The cooler air in the hotel room and all the weather changes of traveling every week have me this chronic cough. One day I'll get a cough button. I'll be back here in the hotel room, though, Monday morning. I know you're excited about this backdrop. The glory, the halo is coming in. Happy Easter. Remember, just remember to be back here. Thanks to our sponsors, riverspromise.org, riverspromise.org. God bless you. God bless America. I am Jimmy Lakey. Peace. I'm out of here.